What is up, everybody? Calling all angels. Welcome to Wings of the Angels for this third week of May. And it is time to talk about. Hang on. There we go. Test, test. Okay, cool. We are here to talk about the week in NWSL that had just previously occurred. Let's go over that. So, first up, we had the 3-0 victory, Kansas City over Houston. And what we had going here, yeah, this was ugly from the get go. Jane Campbell gets a own goal 15 minutes in. And then Tenma Chawinga gets one from, takes a pass from Michelle Cooper and finishes it at the 17th. And now it's 2-0, and this game is basically over. Cooper and Chawinga got on the same page again to score a third goal later. And yeah, this was. The possession was fairly balanced, but Houston was not able to manifest anything from it. So, what I'm thinking, looking at this, my analysis is I think we have seen the upper limits of what they are capable of. We are now at the point where we know what these teams are able to do, and Houston is about that. This is about what they can do. In terms of Kansas City, they look like they're back. That's certainly a good sign for them. But yeah, there's a lot that has to be done here. And if, by the way, if anything's moving around, I do apologize for that. We're trying to get the screen working right. There we go. All right. Okay, so yeah, with Kansas City, I'm not sold yet that they are back to being a top contender, but they have regained their momentum. They are looking like a serious team again, and that's good for them. They've gotten themselves back in the top six. Big matchup this week, so actually two because we have the weekend match as well. So should be interesting for them. But Houston, I think they've gotten themselves back to the lower tier, and I'm sure their fans are hoping that that can turn around quickly. Bay FC and Boston Legacy. This was, I think, a legitimate surprise for Bay. They figured Boston might show up flat after getting their win, but no, they continue to ride some momentum here. They did dig themselves in a hole very early. Boston Legacy picked up a direct red card right before halftime. And so Bianca St. George not being there basically put them on the defensive. Bay scores very quickly in the second half to take the lead. However, they bail out Boston with a penalty kick, and Amanda Gutierrez, just as she did in previous weeks, is able to bail them out for the lead. And then 11 on 10, they just kind of ride it out. Bay FC dominated this game for the most part. Should have gotten the win with nearly. Yeah, that percentage doesn't work. There we go. Yeah, there was a pretty dominant performance. They were leading in shots. They had more shots on goal. It was just everything about the game in every facet favored Bay, but just they couldn't get multiple goals, and then they made a big mistake that gifted Boston that basically gifted Boston a point in the standings. So Boston continues to creep up. Bay actually is moving up okay as well. They're almost into that realm where they would be taken as a playoff team, but still got some ways to go. I feel both teams are still missing something, and so this felt like kind of a battle of two teams that aren't really on the up and up yet. But let's give it some time. We're getting close to that break. We'll see what they look like after the break. Simultaneously, while that match was happening, because that was one by the way, we lived the second half and watched Bay and Boston go completely nuts. Um, we also saw not much from the Gotham Seattle game other than watch it become irrelevant. You had Gotham up fairly early thanks to Jaden Shaw's goal. And then Tierna Davidson scores early in that half, makes it 2-0. And Seattle just did not look good from the word go, at least from what I was seeing in the second half. The ball was constantly in the Gotham offensive zone. And when they actually did get over onto their side, they couldn't generate a lot of actual shots at the net. As you see, there's only 2 shots on target the whole game, and I'm pretty sure one of those was in the first, because I only saw that goalkeeper really have to move once the entire game while I was watching it. So that is now 5 straight matches without an in-play goal. For Seattle, this team is showing major warning signs of just falling off the earth. And yeah, alarm bells going off in Spokane, in Seattle. A lot has to change quickly. All right, San Diego and Washington was that match of the day. San Diego pulls off some magic here with Byers scoring in the 6th minute before Rebecca Bernal levels it almost 30 minutes later off of an assist from Lacey Santos. And I was just waiting to see if anyone was going to break this tie. For a while, I didn't think anyone was. We kept getting yellow cards from Bernal, from Bersenas. Trinity Rodman had gotten one in the first half I didn't see. A lot of good action from the teams. And what I guess was just looking there, I looked at that game late and I was like, we're just getting in a tie. And then suddenly, Kenza Dali gets a really nicely placed pass to Kimi Escanio, and she finishes it. So with at the 89th minute, despite Washington leading possession most of the way, San Diego had the more opportunities, more shots, and it came back to finally bite Washington. They were letting them have those opportunities. It was a very opportunistic offense, and San Diego was able to make something of it. So at the moment, San Diego sits atop the table. We'll see if they are able to hold it for very long, but they are realistically playing like the strongest team actively going. I will say that right now. If I was to pick a team that right now was the strongest in the league, I would probably say San Diego, even though they're not overwhelming. I would lean them at the moment. Moving into the Saturday games, North Carolina finally gets some credibility back by defeating Chicago 4-0. Took a while for the scoring to actually start. Evelyn Ije gets a header off of a cross from Ashley Sanchez, and that's very early in the second half, and then they proceed to just go off. The favors return to Sanchez, and EJ assists her in a second goal. Ali Schlegel gets an unassisted in the 65th, 4 minutes later. And then near the end of the game, Monica Matsukubo gets a goal to make it 4-0 off of an assist from Shinomi Koyama. And, yeah, just dominant effort. Not a whole lot to say here. Chicago has pretty much established their bottom quarter. And North Carolina is trying to establish themselves as we have at least gotten past that. I don't know, realistically, who is the actual big dog in this lower tier, but it feels like it's Carolina, and they're trying to get themselves taken seriously again. That's going to be a big question here. I am moving a little quickly here just because you may notice that a lot of videos are going up all at once because Angel City is on a Wednesday. So we're doing the game recaps, the midweek previews, and the Angel City stuff all at once. Unfortunately, like I said, as I said, this previous weekend is my busiest, or one of them, of the whole year, and so it is tailing into the early week. So it's throwing off a lot of timing. I'm glad to say, though, it does cut off around Thursday. So I think it'll start getting a lot faster very quickly. All right. Anyway, Denver 3-1 on Orlando. This one, it was one of those where I knew Orlando was limited by how much they could. So if Denver got themselves up early, Orlando was not a team in position to really come back on them. And that's basically what we saw. Ava Gaetano scores in the 10th, makes it 1-0, holds until halftime. Janine Sonis early in the second half makes it 2-0. And then, to make matters worse, in the 63rd, Angelina for Orlando gets a yellow card, which VAR determines needs to be a direct red card. And that pretty much ended the threat from Orlando. Barbara Banda, once again, making a play to just be like win every postseason award here, manages to pull off a goal still in the 76th, but almost immediately they make a mistake in the box, forces a penalty kick, and so, yeah, almost immediately after getting some hope back, Sonis puts the game to bed. This game was dominated by Denver. This was a very dominant week. The teams that won hard in most of these. So yeah, Denver definitely looks more playoff ready than Orlando. Orlando showing serious limitations with what they're able to do. Portland and Angel City. So I'll go into a little bit more detail in the Angel City video, but Portland just, this one's going to stick with them because it was exactly the same game where by the end it was functionally even on possession, but Angel City was really getting more opportunities, but Portland didn't get the opportunistic goal like they did last time. The chance never came, so they just sat at 0, and Angel City was more than content to ride it to a point and break their scoreless streak. And hopefully that brings them back into relevance here as they go into this final stretch before we go on World Cup. I'll call it World Cup break during the pool play. Like I said, I'll go in more detail there, so we'll move on from here to the last match. Utah Royals getting a 2-1 win on Racing Louisville. This one was more a self-inflicted setup because Louisville gave up an own goal 22 minutes in. Lauren Millier knocks it in for Utah. Taylor Flint makes up for it right before, gets a yellow card, and then Kayla Fisher makes up for it later in the game to tie it. But that was the thing. A lot of unforced errors, you're already trying to hold something together instead of simply being up. And that comes down on them at the end when Cece Delzer sets up Mina Tanaka, and she gets the goal at 77th minute. Utah was dominating anyway, so this would have been one of those games that was stolen if Louisville had been able to hold a lead, and a point that had been stolen even if they had forced a draw. So ultimately, better team comes out ahead in all things considered. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with this camera. So with that said, that concludes that week. We'll do a preview coming up here as well. So this one's going to be up very early in the morning. Preview probably around noon. And then the Angel City stuff will go up fairly late in the day. So you'll see that probably right before their game. And with that, we'll see you in a couple hours.